Welcome back to That Handicapping Show. I'm Claire Novak, joined by Tom LaMarra, and today we are going to take a look at the Gold Cup at Santa Anita Stakes. $500,000 on the line for the older horses going 1.25 miles. And some very good horses in here, including my favorite, Opportunity. Also Moreno, who has proven to be a pretty talented horse despite some inconsistency. We've got some runners in here like Catch a Flight, Big Casanova, and Finnegan's Wake going back to dirt. Fascinating developments here for this race on Saturday. Tom, what are your thoughts about a pretty good field?
What I like about the race is, number one, it drew a large field for a Grade 1. And it's extremely competitive. Again, it's one of those races where it's really hard to kind of gauge who the favorite will be, but I think the favorite will not be a heavy favorite.
Right.
Maybe Catch a Flight because he won the Californian and he defeated Moreno on Hard Aces last time. But very competitive, 1.25 miles. And there are quite a few horses in here who actually have pretty good speed. They like to run on or near the lead. So I think that could play a role in the outcome when they hit the wire. I have always been a big Moreno fan. I think maybe he's a little bit of an underachiever, but what's interesting is for the Charlestown Classic, trainer Eric Guillot got Cornelio Velasquez to ride. Of course, he won the race. Yes, we know Shared Belief was eased in that race, so he wasn't a factor. But then Cornelio came out to ride him in the California as well, and Moreno ran a bang-up second to Catch a Flight. So he's back again. He's returning to California to ride this horse, and I see him as a major threat.
Yeah,
he isn't my top pick, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if the horse won the race.
Well, he won the Whitney in 2014, which a lot of people thought he wasn't that type of class, and he has run very well. The Breeders' Cup Classic seems to be his kind of enigma, since he does not run well in that race. But if you look at the races he's been running in, like the Santa Anita Handicap, second to Shared Belief, you know, coming into the Charlestown Classic and winning that and then running well last time out. The one thing that I do like about him as he's gotten older, he has been able to harness that early speed. He will rate off of horses. And when you look at a race like this where you've got a lot of runners in here with some speed that should be a pretty decent pace scenario, he's not going to have to be out there, you know, getting hooked up in a speed duel. He's going to be able to rate. Now, I know you are picking a horse who's I am a big fan of, and that is Opportunity.
Opportunity, yes.
Definitely needed the race last time out.
Yes.
Which we knew he might.
And, you know, he's coming back on 2 weeks rest, which is kind of interesting, I think. But that race on June 13th, which was the Grade 1 Stephen Foster at Churchill Downs, was his first race in several months. And, you know, the Stephen Foster, I did like the two horses that ran first and second, but the track that night was kind of playing the horses who were very close up early, or horses that made that move on the final turn. And in many of those races, they proved very hard to catch. This was one of those races. I was impressed with Noble Bird and Lee. They went 1:47 and 4 for the 1 1/8. But Opportunity actually ran a great race. He was like fourth, third, one of those horses like many that night who just couldn't pick up on the leaders. I think it's going to be a different story here. Of course, he's never run 1.25 miles. I'm really not worried about that. If the horse is coming back in 2 weeks, I think he's ready to run. And I think he'll be, you know, a fair price here, although he is trained by Bob Baffert, so of course that always draws money.
Well, an Opportunity, as you said, you know, does have that good closing kick, and in his previous races has proven that, you know, he can make up ground, and just depending on the track conditions, he's run second to Shared Belief as well, or third, I should say, behind Shared Belief in California Chrome. And I'm really struggling with what to do with him, because I do think he and Moreno are the top kind of contenders. I do like the fact that Moreno has run the 1.25 miles before. He ran in the Suburban where he finished second to Zevo, who was one of those good horses that we saw out of New York from the Chad Brown barn. I think what I'm going to do is take a look at one other horse that we haven't mentioned yet, who definitely is intriguing.
Is it Catch a Flight?
Well, no.
Oh,
but we can talk about him too.
You need to use that horse as well.
I agree. I think there are 4 in here that we really should talk about.
I know who you're talking about.
Well,
the turf horse that has never won on the dirt.
It is fascinating.
It is.
Because trained by Dale Romans, moves to Peter Miller's barn, turf, la-di-da-di-da, actually ends up doing quite well in California running on the turf, and now all of a sudden, let's run him in the Gold Cup at Santa Anita Stakes. Fascinating developments here.
Look, you can't fault the horse's form, you know, and he's a very honest horse. Nothing surprises me in racing anymore. So, you know, class-wise, I think he fits in the race. It's just a matter of whether he wants to run on the dirt.
He's been running some great numbers.
Yeah, and he's one of 2 Peter Miller horses in here. Right next to him in the starting gate is Literus. I believe I'm pronouncing that correct.
Yes.
Correctly.
There's another Peter Miller horse in here too, Pashki.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right, 3 Peter Miller horses. Right. So, you know, that always makes things interesting because they're uncoupled in the wagering.
There's 4 Peter Miller horses in this race. Big Casanova.
All right.
Lots of Peter Miller horses.
I thought I looked at this race more carefully than I did.
But he's picking opportunity.
Okay, there are 4 horses from one trainer, and they're all separate betting interests. So that's always an interesting angle.
That is interesting.
But when there's 4, that's a little bit too much for me to handle.
So we'll talk about the last horse we're going to talk about today, Catch a Flight, who must be used according to Tom, and why is that?
Well, he has run extremely well since his arrival here in the U.S. from Brazil. He's run 5 times at Santa Anita, 3 wins, 2/3. Has never run a bad race, and I think he's got the right running style for this. And he did run 1.25 miles once, ran 3rd. You know, I think he may be the favorite here, but you know what? He might be a worthy favorite because he's just very consistent, and he looks like he's one of those horses like Opportunity that might be in the right place at the right time when they turn for home.
All right. So what you're saying is you pick Opportunity.
I do. I do pick him to win.
Catch a Flight.
And
use Moreno.
Yes.
Use Finnegan's Wake. That's coming from me, not from Tom.
That's coming from you. Yes.
Like I said, struggling big time, huge Opportunity fan. Just to do something different than Tom, how about I pick Moreno? We'll see how that ends up. But if I were betting...
It usually backfires, but that's fine. That's fine with me.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't mind
you
at
can
all.
bet Opportunity now. I would say, though, definitely using those 2, for sure.
All right.
All right. It's going to be a busy weekend of racing.
Yes.
Some night racing as well from Churchill Downs and Prairie Meadows, where they have the Cornhusker. Their big weekend of racing, and we'll keep you covered with all the latest news at bloodhorse.com. We always want to thank Equibase for the PPs, and thank you for watching that handicapping show.